Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Demo Hub, the show where we demonstrate the latest tools and trends and innovations in the world of data analytics. I'm your host, Fru. Today, we are joined by a special guest, Christian Screen, the founder of Data Lakehouse, a cloud data warehouse management solution that combines analytics with machine learning to offer actionable insights for effective business decision making. With decades of experience in the field, Christian brings a wealth of knowledge to the table. We are excited to learn more about the journey behind Data Lakehouse and the unique approach to analytics. Without further ado, let's welcome Christian to the show. Christian, really glad to have you. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Fruit. Thank you, and nice to be here, of course. Great introduction. I appreciate that. And love the
Uh,
show, by the way.
it's an honor. Thank you so much. Really excited to learn more about DataLakeHouse.io and your experience as an entrepreneur building a successful technology company. Just take us through the journey for the audience that probably don't know what DataLakeHouse.io is. What is it? What is the elevator pitch for your tool?
Yeah, absolutely. So DataLakeHouse.io is really a cloud data orchestration platform, meaning that we enable customers to take their source data or their multiple data sources, if you will, particularly operations applications like CRMs, ERPs, and move that by synchronizing their data into a cloud data warehouse, such as Snowflake, and so forth. And so this capability also includes other tools for data management, such as a simplified data catalog, reverse terraforming, management of users, and then also pre-built analytic applications so that users who are looking at learning more about their operational systems, like Salesforce.com as an example, can get almost an immediate turnaround on data or analytics based on that system. So it's a way to kind of just cut through the chase of getting customers information and insights about their data very quickly.
That's pretty awesome. And you've touched on three key concepts there: synchronization, ETL integration. Does this fall on the integration side, the CDP side? Where does it fall in the broader perspective of industry terms? Just trying to isolate that.
Yes, and that's a common scenario as well for people like to put Data Lakehouse in a box, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our original premises around Data Lakehouse was to take the concept of centralizing all three of those concepts that you mentioned into a single platform. We kind of look at Data Lakehouse.io as almost a convenience platform. So yes, it does the integration. So there are other similar tools that provide change data capture, change tracking, replication synchronization. So we handle that. We think we do a fantastic job of that. But we also provide those analytics. So we integrate with maybe some more popular tools you're familiar with, DBT, for example. We use quite a bit of DBT to back end our analytical models. And then we are a low no code system. So we provide an abstract layer over DBT so customers can just go straight to the analytics capability.
Okay. Who would be the main audience? Are these the folks that are coming from the data engineering side of the world that would typically leverage your pre-built models, or would this be the business side, the marketing team that just wants to have a solution without that engineering lift that comes with it?
Absolutely. Yeah, you know the industry well. So we actually look at it from both sides as well. So we are able to work with a marketing team, say a marketing manager. They want an accelerated solution just to get answers quickly, looking at things like attribution, campaign attribution, so forth. So they can plug directly in to the system. But then, of course, we do focus and lean into our data engineering crowd as well, our analytics engineering crowd. So if there's a team, data team, and they simply are trying to get data from point A to point B. We have dozens of connectors to a lot of the most popular tools out there and sources, and they can quickly connect to their Snowflake or BigQuery, et cetera, in a matter of minutes. So we really focus on both sides of that equation. And that's where we come up with this kind of convenience perspective on data. Look, we've been doing this for a very long time.
Mhm.
And what we found is that when data teams can be successful getting their hands on tools that empower them, then the business can be successful very quickly. But the business also has those questions that they need answered. Sometimes they want to drive that conversation. So allowing the business to see that there's a point solution there for them, and maybe they need assistance from their data team to get that established or configured, or so there's some technical ownership that the data team needs to get laid out to get ready, then that's when those two teams come together and they can collaborate inside of DataLakeHouse.io to do that.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. And are you saying to the business teams they can get their insights in minutes, not hours or days like it used to take?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, configuration's quick, and then we've got these pre-built accelerated models that can
Mm-hmm.
really provide answers in minutes. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a statement. So we like to say, yeah, still, the first time you spin up, you're looking at maybe a couple of hours, maybe even a day, depending on what you're doing. But in reality, once someone's is comfortable with the platform, it's going to be minutes.
All right, pretty cool. And the demo is usually the mainstay of the episodes we do here. But before we jump into that, I know you're very excited to show what the tool looks like and how folks can access it. Can you talk about the name, DataLakeHouse.io? I'm sure we can
Yes.
escape the Data Lakehouse part of it. Why Data Lakehouse? Are we talking just about unstructured data here, or is there more to it with that name?
Solid point. Yeah. So we've been in industry for about 2 decades. By industry, working in technology, working in data warehousing. And when I say data warehousing, this goes back to the Bill Inman, the Ralph Kimball
Mm-hmm.
structuring days. Also, more recently, Data Vault 2.0, which we're big fans of that framework. And so, we've worked across industries. Myself, my co-founder Mike Jellin. So we've done over 500 technology products, over 250 data warehouse projects. And as the world started moving about a decade ago to this concept of big data, we found ourselves obviously implementing, Hadoop, MapR, some other technologies, and we found ourselves constantly explaining to executives and data teams what the difference is between a data warehouse and big data, and of course, data lake storage. And what we found was the best way to communicate that was that you need the best of both worlds. So when you have what we call big data, unstructured, semi-structured, structured data, there's a place for that. But what we found is people keep forgetting that companies have been running successfully for almost 2 decades on a curated, centralized enterprise data warehouse, right? Whether it be a customer data
Mm-hmm.
warehouse, a finance data warehouse, or a full-blown enterprise data warehouse, usually a dimensional model, or these days, some sort of data vault 2.0 model. And so what we found was when we came up with the concept of data lakehouse, almost 8 years ago, we found that that was really something that helped people understand how you need both of those solutions. So when we started creating the product, we always had that in mind, and
Mm-hmm.
that was to be able to incorporate data at its core from the source, leverage object storage from the most popular cloud vendors, but then always provide this capability to have curated data models that are rather dimensionalized, so you can get repetitive, consistent answers and insights about your data. So long-winded response, and we
Mm-hmm.
find ourselves talking about that quite often because we think the world has looked at this concept of a
Mm-hmm.
data lakehouse almost as a coin term, something that is very loosely aligned. But in fact, we think the most diligent, we think the most ready, and the most expert data professionals understand the difference between, let's call it data lake. We like to call it data lake storage because data lake is just like too loose of a term,
Mm-hmm.
and a data warehouse. So by combining those two terms together, we think really the most elite companies and the most elite data engineers will understand that a data lakehouse, whether in architecture, framework, or in tool, is the most necessary part of their data equation. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks for that background. It definitely cleared. You've been talking about this for 8 or so years, even though Data Lake House now is becoming popular just in the recent couple of years, I would say. Now, before we jump in, talk about the data models. Is this
Mhm.
industry specific that you go after, like marketing or maybe healthcare, life sciences, or retail? Or are you pretty agnostic when it comes to the models you have pre-built that could be leveraged by teams?
Yeah, we are actually fairly agnostic. We do have a focus actually, which is retail. E-commerce, there's a general slant towards our focused industries, which you could say that's just about every industry,
Hmm.
and marketing as well, so sales marketing and customer focus. And one of the first steps in our journey was to create really what we call application specific models. So, for example, you'll see in the demo how we have a model for QuickBooks, a model for Salesforce, a model for Zero. And we also have a few customers who are focused in the HR, so the human resources realm. So we tap into things like Workday, Ceridian, UKG to enable those HR teams who have a real need for analyzing their people data.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it's an evolving concept, and so our goal is actually to have a very grand library of pre-built models that anyone can tap into and use and get insights quickly to their data.
All right. Have lots of questions, but once we get into the demo, I'm sure these questions will
Sure.
be popping up. So let's see what DataLakeHouse.io looks like in real life. How can users access this?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, the landing page, this is the website. So if you go to DataLakeHouse.io, you'll wind up here. Just like most SaaS-based applications you've seen in the past, you can get a free account, sign up for a trial. We do have a freemium model, and really just interested in working with customers. I don't want to leave that out, right? The fact that we love talking data analytics, data strategy. And so the conversations we're having with customers who just come to us, sign up. Right now we're basically talking to all of our customers to really understand their data journeys and really what they're doing with data and how we can actually enhance or really make their lives easier as they work with data and analytics. So the next stop on the journey is once someone goes into the platform, let me just kind of share another screen here. Once they sign up, they're going to be able to navigate into the platform. The platform is a typical SaaS-based dashboard and a set of feature functionality, probably not too different from what a lot of people are used to. This is our standard portal for DataLakeHouse.io. You can obviously see in the left-hand menu lots of different features and functionality. And one thing that we kind of draw people's attention to right away is just, hey, what are the sources that you're interested in connecting? So we have a pretty great team here at DataLakeHouse.io. We have connectors for a lot of the core operational systems, databases, and applications that we've all come to love as enterprise organizations over the many years. So things in advertising, e-commerce, Facebook ads, you can connect to your data storage, get your Google Analytics feeds. We also try to focus on data sources that might not be as ubiquitous. And we think this is a huge differentiator for us because it shows that we really are focused on the customer journey with their data. One example of that, Fru, is our Ceridian Dayforce connector. Ceridian Dayforce is a HRIS system used by the customers across the globe. Another one that we love to have fun with is actually our food delivery service connector. So this actually connects to DoorDash for work,
Mm.
other ones like ConnectWise. So if you're thinking, hey, this is similar to other platforms you might have seen that synchronize data, well, you haven't seen anything yet, but one of the first things to kind of take note of is these unique connectors. One to point out that's just very recent actually into our collection. We've got a couple of customers using it, which is our Cloudflare connector. So this is a connector to object storage. So similar to S3, similar to Wasabi, but we're the first company in the world that I know of that has an actual operational connector to Cloudflare, as well as Wasabi. So we're partnered with Wasabi. Love working with that team. And so we have a connector for our friends at
For
Wasabi as
Wasabi.
well. Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Just to double click on the connectors a little bit, do you leverage like the Singer framework that is more of the open source side for quickly building these connectors, or are you mostly doing this from the ground up on demand as folks are demanding these connectors?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we build connectors both based on roadmap and based on customer demand. And so regarding the open source, we are a closed source system. We do actually have some open source components. So some of our analytical models are actually open source. But as far as the core of DataLakeHouse.io, it is proprietary. And we think there's a huge benefit there for us as well. We have a real, like I said, an amazing team of folks here. And what we build, it's fast. We're able to support it very quickly. And, and we're also able to then create connectors very rapidly for customers who say, hey, we're looking for this connector. Love to have you guys spin that up. And that would help us tremendously. So we're all about that type of customer demand. And once we
Hmm.
build it, other customers can use
Can
it right
use it.
away. So mhm.
Okay. And then by rapidly, are we talking about months, weeks? Just to get a
Sometimes
bit
days. Yeah,
days.
but yeah, we typically wrap SLAs around things. So, in a matter of weeks, we are able to get those
Yeah.
connectors up and running.
Yeah. Obviously, it would depend on the connector, but yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, yeah. So you can kind of see here, and I'll jump around a little bit in the demo. So we just have one connector here for DoorDash that I was mentioning. And then, of course, for targets, right now we have Snowflake and BigQuery. We've got a few others on the roadmap that are coming out this spring. And so in general, similar idea that the connector points to your cloud data warehouse, very similar to probably some other systems you've seen in the past. But ideally, it's just creating a unique connection. It's going to point to your Snowflake data cloud database. And then from there, we have what we call a sync bridge. And so a sync bridge is just this ability to say, this is the conduit from our source to our target. And then you're able to schedule that on a certain frequency. There's other options that we have enabled for this. But in general, it's basically saying, hey, I want my data synchronized every 15 minutes, every 12 hours, every 24 hours, landing into my target Snowflake database.
Okay, that is good. So just to touch on the destination side, so you support
Mhm.
Snowflake, pretty awesome data platform. Does the users of DataLakeHouse.io, do they bring their own data warehouse solutions, or is this something where you have almost like a managed service option for folks that don't necessarily want to have that data warehouse themselves and just have you manage it all?
I'm glad you asked that question. So we do have something of a managed capability. So we particularly have that on our analytics deployment capability. So I can actually show you what that looks like. So this is where we start differentiating ourselves from any other group where you might have seen that they do organization of data from source to a cloud data warehouse. And so we call these our analytics offerings or our analytics platforms. So we have a slew of these that are available, and we typically base these on the actual source systems themselves, but we do also have some industry specific models that can be deployed in the solution. So the one I'm going to just point out right now is the one for food delivery service. And so you can see some of the other ones that we have available. So Shopify, Stripe, Zero, Salesforce. These are some of our more popular ones. So the popular ones kind of are at the top of the list. And so the ability here is to say, I want to install this package for Ceridian Dayforce. So you need to have your connector, your source connector already set to Ceridian Dayforce. I don't have one set on this particular project,
Mhm.
but once you have that connection, you then will go through this process and you'll be able to launch that application within minutes. But let's just take a look at one of the launched applications looks like. So this is one for, like I said, for my food delivery. And we also have Snowflake usage. I'm really excited to show that on your program here, Fru.
Mhm.
So these dashboards, it's all proprietary to DataLakeHouse.io. The general idea is that you're trying to get insights about that particular application. And in this case, we're looking at data that is in how our employees actually in this case are ordering from a food delivery. And so what we do in these pre-built analytical applications is we take data from the source. We model it typically in a dimensional model, but we do have some Data Vault 2.0 models for certain
Mhm.
systems like Salesforce. And then we produce the analytical reporting and dashboard on top of it. We also enrich those models with things like weather data or maybe
Mhm.
demographics data. And these are all things, right, that would take a standard data team weeks or months
The
to.
way I kind of describe it is you can either go to the grocery store and get the recipe, flour, eggs to come make your pancake, or you can get ready-made pancake and just focus on having a delicious meal and it sounds like you're more on the get the ready-made pancake and have a meal without worrying about that recipe behind the scenes. Is that kind of a good way to?
That's absolutely it, right?
Okay.
So step one is basically, hey, we have data, we need it synced into a cloud data
Mm-hmm.
warehouse. Okay, great. DataLakeHouse.io. We now want to get instant insights to our data from our system or about our industry. Step
Mm-hmm.
two, DataLakeHouse.io. And so, you can kind of see here, we've got mapping information. One of the cool things we like to show is, like top 10 merchants. This is just an example of some of the pre-built things. You can look
Mm-hmm.
at, amount of dollars spent by an employee. We could do a whole session just on this one
On this
dashboard.
very powerful, and all of this pre-built dashboards is leveraging a hosted Snowflake account that you manage, as opposed to the customer having a contractual agreement with Snowflake. Is that? Mm,
Yes and no. So we can manage it, but we
mm.
also have the option for them to manage it as well. So they can
Yes.
deploy it on their own Snowflake.
Okay,
Yes.
so you have both options.
We have both. And we're a big fan of the capacity models of cloud data warehouses. And the
Mhm,
one thing we say is customers should actually always be trying to increase their spend in their cloud data warehouse and their analytics, right? It's an investment.
mhm,
So when we see some of the companies or tools out there that are trying to reduce spend on data and analytics investments, that's when we get back to a data strategy question and start asking, well, why are you doing that, right? Like
mhm,
if you took the effort in your strategy to spend more money, how much more benefit would that give your company? What would that do to your top line or your bottom line?
mhm.
So that's just a general question and a ethos we like to have in data strategy. And so if you think about that point, one of the other deployments we have in our analytics capability is for a Snowflake usage.
Dashboard.
And so dashboard, yes. And the Snowflake usage dashboard, it's really more about how much effort is going into, I think I'm in the wrong area here. Let me jump over to a different dashboard here. Yeah, let me share this one. So the Snowflake usage dashboards that we've built, they are really all about how are things being consumed? Where is the energy being spent? As opposed to just trying to understand potentially where the cost should be cut or reduced. So we take the perspective again of do more with your data, do more with your analytics. And that might cost you an incremental amount more value out of your data, and those insights you turn around into market advantages for your company. That's where the rubber really hits the road. So we like to emphasize that for our customers and really, data enthusiasts, all around. And so with these insights that we're providing, and we won't go into great detail, but we could almost do an entire session just on Snowflake usage analytics. Through we think, and we're pretty sure that we are now the number one for data for Snowflake usage metrics, reporting, and output at this point. So we have, I think, more than 8 dashboards that give Snowflake customers insights into all aspects of their data. We've actually taken what most people look at as just a glance of the Snowflake underbelly, and we've actually created our own proprietary model on top of that. We've incorporated machine learning on top of that and created an amazing set of models that provide the backbone to these dashboards. And so we'll leave it up to your imagination for the moment, but lots of different insights across the board on every aspect of Snowflake. So
Yeah,
that's the Snowflake usage analytics. Yeah.
yeah. I would love to double click on this sometime, but definitely a fan of the path you're taking of not just bringing data and then leaving it up to the teams to do whatever they want, but you
Mhm.
synchronizing the data, you adding value on that with custom models. Plus, you're also surfacing insights into how the customer is getting value out of it by showing the metrics from the data warehouse. And if these metrics are
Right.
going up, you can correlate that to the value hopefully they're getting in terms of increasing sales revenue, retention, and all of that. So pretty insightful.
Yeah, absolutely. And just another example of that, and I'll jump over to kind of our third stage here. So this would be one from HR systems. So we have a lot of companies come to us and they say we're struggling with our HRIS analytics and some of the key metrics. We're looking at trying to understand, demographics a little better, things of that nature. And so these pre-built dashboards, they not only provide kind of just immediate insights, but sometimes customers come to us and say, "Oh, we didn't have that metric for our people analytics, or we didn't think about that KPI for our CRM." And so the benefit here is if you're a novice data team or a novice department, or even if you're an enterprise department, we think there's something for everyone in the pre-built models that we have to offer. And it's never going to be a 100% fit when you buy that model. There's some configuration that might need to be needed, and so our platform allows that configuration capability of the model, of the reports and dashboards as well.
Okay. What's the vision for that? Is that the customer then to do those configurations, or do you have a consulting arm to help add that additional value and customization?
Yeah, so we have the capability to support the customer to do those types of customizations. Maybe their data team is slammed, maybe they have a very lean team across the board, and they might need some assistance. So they can do it themselves, or we can provide that assistance for them.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
is it fair to say that there might be scenarios where the customer doesn't even have to log in into a Snowflake instance if they can just sync up the data, have all these dashboards, and it's just right there in front of them?
Correct. Yes, that's exactly the point for, yeah, customer can come in and they can get all their insights and information right away. And so again, we kind of look at it as that convenience platform, right?
Hmm.
There's a big trend in technology these days. You see a lot of saturation across the board in tech stack. And so Data Lakehouse has taken the perspective of, let's do many things very well. Let's give the customer one platform to come in and do their data work that they need, especially that supports their analytics, their data strategy. Want to go into great detail here, but we do also have we call it a simplified data catalog. So
Hmm.
for customers that are looking for applying attribute definitions to columns and tables and things like that, we have that capability as well. And then also we have a data transformation capability. So right now this is mainly gets applied to the cloud data warehouse when the data is loaded, but we have the ability to kick off DBT jobs and other sort of post-load transformation concepts, which is really kind of neat. And then on the third aspects of things, we have what we call cloud data warehouse management features. So we started this with Snowflake, and we have several customers using Terraform with Snowflake.
Hmm.
One of the problems with terraforming in Snowflake is it's really a one swim lane forward, which means that you can create the objects and you can push those to your Snowflake instance. But if you have multiple instances of Snowflake and you want to basically clone an instance or pull out just certain aspects, you can't really do that very easily, especially if you're familiar with like an infrastructure of code approach. So we've actually, I won't say invented, but we're definitely the first group that we're familiar with that has created a reverse Terraform concept for Snowflake. So what this does, Fru, is it allows a Snowflake customer to come in and cherry pick basically, which artifacts or objects in their Snowflake account they want to pull out of their Snowflake and just simply store into their Terraform scripting, so that if they wanted to create another Snowflake account with only a specific set of objects, then they could do that very quickly. So they don't have to retype anything. They don't have to think about fat finger anything. They just say, our current development Snowflake account has thousands of objects, but we want to create a sit environment or a stage environment based on that environment. But we only need 5 of the databases, 2 of the stages, 3 of the pipes. They can simply reverse Terraform, cherry pick those objects, put them in Terraform code, and then push that into their new Snowflake account.
Wow. You have a lot of capabilities going on here.
Mhm.
I hate to ask this question, but it's going to help me orient a little bit more.
Sure.
If we step back and think about the industry talks a lot about the composable CDPs, and I see a certain aspect to that here with like the high touches of the world, the segments. How
Mhm.
are those competitors you would say that play this space, and how do they compare with DataLakeHouse.io?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think both the platforms you mentioned are brilliant. They've done a great job. Obviously, both very well funded, and have created some good market fit with their product. Obviously, fulfilling a need. And so we kind of look at ourselves at the same level. The demand, for data analytics and working with customer data is just going through the roof. It's just up and to the
Mhm.
right. It's not stopping. And so the things that we have built into the platform are enabling some customers who are using those platforms like Segment, Hightouch, source systems like Salesforce.com, and so forth. And so as we continue on the journey for Data Lakehouse, we are definitely layering in CDP capabilities because we know that the customer is very valuable. We know that industry focus is very valuable. So we continue to incorporate those concepts. And in the meanwhile, we're able to pull and integrate with systems like Segment and Salesforce.com and some of the other big players that are out there today.
Very awesome. Now let's talk about billing. It's always an interesting question, given you have many different dimensions you could potentially take that with. Can you elaborate how do you approach that? Is it by volume of data synchronized? Is it the connectors that are available? Is it the models that are leveraged? Is it the dashboards that you provide, or all of the above?
Mhm. Yeah, there's a little bit of all the above. So again, our focus is on getting the customer what they need. So from a billing perspective, we do have both annual contracts and monthly subscription billing. So you can imagine our models are really more of a license where there's an annual contract required for those. But all the other features that you saw are really both capacity and subscription, monthly subscription based. We think we're competitive in the market, but we also believe we add a lot of extra value, both on the platform, the ability to quick turnaround, new custom connectors, which is all part of the process. But we think we're pretty nimble on those fronts. So yeah, capacity based, subscription based, and then we do have the ability to do annual contracts, which helps some of our customers out today.
Okay. Addition to the customization, if as one that, let's say, Salesforce is a source you have, and maybe we bring
Mhm.
that up if you have that handy, and there
Yeah,
is a dashboard around that, and that dashboard needs customized. If you do that for one customer, so you add a new widget on the dashboard for Salesforce, can that value then be leveraged by other customers as well? So you do the investment once, and everybody gets the value. Is that how that would work then?
absolutely. Yeah. So you
Mhm.
could think of it as the wisdom of the crowd, crowd wisdom. And so, yeah, that's the general idea. Push it out exactly like you're describing, right? Same with the connectors. We have a connector for a source system that's maybe not ubiquitous, maybe
Mhm.
lesser known, maybe it's very industry specific. That becomes something that any customer who then comes on board can leverage.
Can leverage. And if there is a source system that's pretty unique, not very well known, very industry domain specific, you've had that connector, data is integrated, you build the model to for that, and the associated dashboards. Everybody benefits from that, or would it be the customer that paid for that initial development? Just trying to really isolate that value stream.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have been in that situation before. So there are
Mhm.
some customer dashboards and some models that we do only for the customer. The connectors, because that's really part of the core DataLakeHouse.io system. Those connectors, unless it's completely owned by that customer, it's so
Mhm.
proprietary, it only belongs to them. That would always come into the Data Lakehouse platform.
Mhm.
But as far as the dashboards or the models, we have done custom models and custom dashboards for customers. In a great example, we get this question often is it's great DataLakeHouse.io has the dashboards and the reports, but can we get that in Looker? Can we get that in Streamlit? Can we get that in Power BI, which is one of the more popular ones we see, Tableau? And so our team is very versed in all of those major BI tools. And because we already have the model, then it's just really a question of building out or working with their team to then build those Power BI or Tableau dashboards. And really, it's just converting our existing dashboards typically.
Mhm.
into those Power BI or Looker dashboards.
I like that. I'm glad you brought that up because I could see that really being a good question that folks have if they've already invested in existing BI infrastructure where the mass of the organization goes to, it makes sense to just leverage the foundation, the model, and then point it to wherever your BI ecosystem is. Do you offer consulting services for that as an option if they want to leverage data
We do.
lakehouse? Okay.
Yep, absolutely. And I
Hmm.
think you hit the nail on the head for, what we're seeing is a lot of data teams, we think they're wasting a lot of valuable time by trying to build basic reports, KPIs, data connectors on their own when they should be spending that time on the high value targets that really move the needle for their business.
Business.
So that's one of the reasons we feel that Data DataLakeHouse.io is really, really profound. And we're really a friend to both business teams, but also the data teams. We want to help them excel, we want them to succeed. And so by providing the capability in a SaaS based platform that gives them answers, that gives them quick ability to connect and synchronize data, then they can focus their energy on the high value targets, make their company better, make their data team better. And that's what we're all about.
Yep, I couldn't agree more with that. In terms of security and governance, that usually comes up depending on the space where you operate in. If we're talking about healthcare, they have different regulations in there with HIPAA. If we're talking about
Right.
just the general PII type of industry specific requirements. How do you approach that? Or even with things like GDPR and CCPA and all of the good stuff that the governance folks would be knocking on the doors for?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is, I won't say a struggle, but it's something that should be on the mind of every technology company, really. If they're not aligned today, then they definitely need to start that journey as soon as possible. So, we started our journey there, I think, at the beginning of our establishing DataLakeHouse.io. So we're SOC compliant, we're HIPAA compliant, GDPR. There's different levels, and there's FedRAMP and other things that we can get into. I don't think we have every single one of those, but we have the major ones that most, like you said, healthcare, banking institutions, and just your general security, your CISO is concerned about.
Oh, okay, awesome. The synchronization piece is pretty
Mm.
clear. Can you talk about notifications in terms of it's good when the data synchronizes and everything comes in? How are you approaching? Is it sending Slack messages if things don't show up in tables the way they should? You emailing folks out. How are you approaching that for the non-happy path, right? Obviously, the happy path data shows up on time. What about the non-happy path?
Yeah, that's a great question. Just kind of showing that here. So yeah, so we have that capability to send out notifications on Slack. We're getting ready to integrate that with Teams, Microsoft Teams. We see that we have many customers on that. That's been a request from several of our customers. Slack is very popular, but I'm always surprised how popular Microsoft Teams is as well.
Mhm.
And then we also have an integration with DBT Cloud, which you can see there as well. But yeah, so we send out alerts and notifications based on any issues that arise, warnings. Sometimes, we try to make our platform as smart as possible, right? Sometimes there's just issues that happen on a customer system, such as maybe somebody changed a password, maybe their server's down. So if we can notify the customer about that before maybe they even know themselves, we think that's a brilliant add to our platform. And so we're always improving our notification capability and our alerting capability.
Oh, okay. That is pretty good to know. One question I typically would ask is about scale, but I think just given that your architecture fundamentally relies on the cloud data warehouse like Snowflake, I mean, scale at that
Mhm.
point is as much as they can scale the Snowflake infrastructure. So I think that checks
Right.
the box. The next question would be, are you familiar with the native application framework with Snowflake and with Streamline now, where you can build applications and have that as part of the marketplace or
So somewhat familiar, we attended Snowflake Summit last
Mhm.
year. We didn't have a booth, but we had some great conversations. Yeah, familiar with it. We actually attended that presentation, but I don't think we've been briefed on the latest. What do you know, Fru? That
No, the reason why I was asking that is because I just following the train of thought here, where you have those, not only are you bringing data into Snowflake, but you have the value add of the modeling and the data vault or whatever that additional value add is. And then you have the dashboarding on top. And what is going through my mind is for those customers that want to bring their own dashboards or they just want to have that run natively in their Snowflake account, if
Mhm.
there is a native app on top where you go to the Snowflake marketplace, you grab this app, which is obviously your app and it's monetized that way and is running on Snowflake data, which obviously is in the Snowflake account synchronized by DataLakeHouse.io, is just another mechanism to distribute the tool. I think that definitely seems to make a lot of sense, at least to me.
No, you're 100% right. And really, ever since that was announced at Summit last year, we've actually been doing that in the background as far as preparing for when the native applications are available to partners to get those deployed on the marketplace. And so we're big fans of Streamlit. We have dozens of Streamlit objects and projects that we've been building over the last many years. And so we're Streamlit experts over here at DataLakeHouse.io. So pretty much as soon as they open up that for partners, you'll see quite a few things out on the marketplace from Data Lakehouse.
Okay, cool. Can you talk about the adoption so far? Are you seeing more of like your SMBs coming, the startup market really coming to this, or are you seeing more of the Fortune 500, Fortune 100? How are you seeing the market size in terms of the adoption of low friction, no code, easy to use solutions like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're seeing it from all ends, actually. So we do work with several startups. We have a few enterprise companies, but I think most of our customers right now that have been quickly adopting the platform are actually in the mid market. And so I think that proves out and tracks very well because the fact is the mid market is typically that group that is, they're running a little leaner a lot of times. They're focused, but they're innovative. And when it comes to getting a solution, they want something that's going to work quickly, work effectively, and kind of, fit within, their overall ethos. And so we're seeing a lot of focus there. Also with the mid-market, that's where we're seeing a lot of these perhaps non-ubiquitous connectors as well. So if you take Ceridian, for example, just kind of talking shop here, Ceridian is, they're in the mid-market, they're in enterprise organizations, but we see a lot more of the enterprise organizations using something like maybe like a Workday or a UKG, where Ceridian is like a perfect one for mid-market. At least that's what we're seeing. So we have lots of customers who come to us for getting their data from Ceridian Dayforce into Snowflake, for example. And that's again a unique value proposition from Data Lakehouse. But we have other connectors like that as well. So hopefully that answers your question.
That does, very illuminating. We're gonna switch gears here as we bring this home. Very curious as a leader in this space, definitely very innovative with the product you're building. Can you talk about the goals, the plans, the vision you have? Feel free to talk about what are the opportunities you see as far as or in the horizon as far as data management is concerned that companies really should be thinking about and decision makers should be thinking about or
Mhm.
opportunities that are just being missed that you really want to capitalize on as you build out this vision.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a pretty grand vision for DataLakeHouse.io. We really think it can be a fundamental game changer for definitely the technology side of the data team, but also on the customer focus business and functional teams. And the reason we say that is because every good data strategy needs to align both the technical and functional aspects of an organization. And because of that, what we have and what we're continuing to build is this, we like to call it a convenience factor. But when you think about data orchestration in a platform, you want to be able to do from a technological side all the things that you would desire to do to manage your technology, right? So that's synchronizing the data, that's seeing the data quickly in a model or in a dashboard, that's understanding users, user consumption, user behavior, those types of things, just to name a few. And then on the business side, you want to be able to go in and collaborate. You want to understand, what does the data mean? Why is the data there? We didn't really get into showing the simplified data catalog, but that kind of handles some of those questions. And then again, getting those quick insights and also interacting with the data. So up next on the roadmap, we actually have a market basket analysis feature capability that allows customers to import their transactions and then match those with customer buying behavior in order to create a market basket analysis, coupon or transactional event capability that they can push into their e-commerce solution. So by merging those things together, we really believe that the data lakehouse can fundamentally change some of the aspects and behavior of data strategy for organizations.
Really like that simplicity definitely has a value to it, and it seems like that's really the angle to which you're taking it. Do the data engineering, leave that so the teams can focus on more value added things, which is focusing on the
Exactly.
customer, focusing on the market, focusing on the business, as opposed to the low value or low level task. Very
Yeah.
powerful. How can folks find Christian or the DataLakeHouse.io? Are the Slack channels, LinkedIn pages? Where are you online? We're gonna leave all of the links in the description below. So feel free to give a shout out to anything you wanna give a shout out to.
Yeah, so pretty much we've tried to have everything data lakehouse centric. So you can find us on Twitter at data lakehouse. You can find us on LinkedIn at data lakehouse. You can find us datalakehouse.io. And let me see where else. You can find me on LinkedIn, and happy to talk with anybody who reaches out. Love talking shop and hearing about people's data and analytics journeys. So yeah, all things data lakehouse.
That's awesome. Christian, it's been very illuminating talking to you. So glad to have you. And best of luck as you go on this journey. Would love to connect back in the future as you make progress to hopefully have a take two. Thanks for coming on board the Demo Hub.
Thank you for